And so they do things that are very, very clever in an attempt to use them as efficiently as possible. For example, it looks like the rear wheels, wow, I have no idea how they did this. How did he do that? The rear wheels, both wheels and the axle, are actually a single object. Huh. That's really interesting. Oh wow, it's a hollowed out tube. Oh, that's very clever. Sometimes they stretch the limits of the system a bit when building things. You know, we really never intended someone to make, you know, 2 wheels and an axle out of a single object. That kind of, to some extent, defeats the purpose of trying to put limits on it. But we have to put limits in the system somehow. I'm actually deleting some of these objects to make some space.
On the same topic, I mean, obviously there's a huge amount of memory involved and you know, data capture in this system. I mean, are you able to tell us, you know, how much space is required on various sort of server farms and data centers, or is that something you're not able to talk about?
Oh no, we can. I'm happy to talk about that. The Second Life grid, the system of server computers that runs this world, runs on approximately, what are we at? Approximately 10,000 one-unit Intel-based server computers. So the sort of thing that, you know, kind of a mom-and-pop store would use to run their website. That sort of server computer we have roughly 10,000 of. They're in server co-location facilities in San Francisco, although we're moving out of there, Dallas-Fort Worth, Phoenix, Arizona, and Reston, Virginia. Basically, you put the servers where electricity is cheap and there aren't earthquakes. This usually ends up being in the middle of the desert somewhere.
Not here.
And then those 10,000 machines talk to each other and also talk to some back-end databases and a very, very large file store that stores all of the asset data for the things that you see. So an asset would be like the image that makes my shirt, or the image that is on the side of the ambulance, or the sound that you hear when the waves are crashing. Likewise, all of the backups of the world data. So this particular area where we're standing, the Davis Island, a snapshot of it is saved roughly every hour, and then we back those up. In total, we have, oh gosh, I think we're above 200 terabytes of information now, maybe much above that. I haven't checked the statistics very recently, but that's sort of multiple Library of Congress's worth of data. There's a lot of data created by virtual worlds, and it's actually quite a challenge to keep it all synchronized and backed up and distributed around our various data centers around the U.S. So it's a pretty big system. Yeah, it's kind of comical. So, yes, it does require electrical power, and hence we are emitting greenhouse gases by being here and by using this wonderful farm of server computers. However, if doing a meeting like this in Second Life prevents you from taking one airplane flight or one extended automotive trip, you've saved vastly more carbon dioxide emissions than you've created. So to the extent that people can use electronic tools or virtual environments to avoid real-world travel, we may actually be benefiting the environment somewhat. So yeah, it kind of depends on how you use it. We do chew up a fair amount of electricity, though. We do actually have 10,000 machines running more or less full bore all day, and each one of those is probably using, I don't know, 150 watts, something like that. We got a lot of light bulbs turned on.
I'm just going to jump in quickly. I mean, if it's of any interest, I've literally just had a paper published about how health IT can, in fact, be a sort of good green technology. And I can post that tomorrow, if you'd like, for the group. Because I think Marty's question is really important, and certainly the sorts of technologies we're using now are being very heavily promoted, both by the Obama administration and by and people around the world, as a potential response to some of the sort of green requirements we need in future, and certainly we can't afford to continue to use aeroplanes and cars to the same extent that we have in the past.
Yeah, that's true. I think it'll be interesting as hospitals start to look into portable devices, for example, if anyone thinks about sort of disposal of those devices. I saw some articles recently on the number of mobile phones that go into landfills every day. And I don't think hospitals are buying mobile phones for people too often these days. If we get to a state where, doctors and nurses have tablet PCs that they haul around, how many batteries are we going to put in a landfill because we wore them out in the ICU? So that'll be interesting to see.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to jump in. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go now. But look, I just wanted to thank you in particular, James, for a really fabulous presentation. And I'm not sure how many other people have to go or whether you can stay, but I'm going to leave the group, and then you're very welcome to sounds like you can stay a little bit, James. So much appreciated. That was really, really interesting, and I look forward to seeing the rest of you students, obviously back online through the Extension website. But thanks for coming tonight.
Yes, thank you. This was wonderful. We learned so much every time we were here, James. Inspired.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks, James, for coming. It's always great fun hearing you talk.
So I've recorded this. I'm hoping I don't lose the file. Do you have any problems with me putting this up, James? Since I know you did talk about Linden.
No, go right ahead.
Okay.
No, that should be fine. I think I don't remember I don't recall the last time we published specs about our server grid, but we talk about it in public all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks indeed, James. And if any of the group haven't actually been to YouTube where Ben is publishing all these films, it's really worth going. With actually, we've got quite a lot of movies up there that Ben has done. I also wanted to thank Marty for all of his help, and particularly in showing people around Second Life. So we shall see you all soon, but thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Yeah,
everybody.
Good night.
Hey.